Have you ever been in a season where you're waiting on a promise from God? I don't know if I can think of anybody who hasn't had to wait on something. And so I want to talk over the next couple of weeks about a road to the promised land and what God has promised us, whether He's spoken it to us personally or if it's a promise found in His Word. And I want to look at the book of Exodus because I love the parallels between God's chosen people and that being like us today and Pharaoh being like the enemy and Egypt being like a place of slavery and bondage. And how do we now under a new covenant work out our salvation and go through the process of sanctification and becoming free as we receive everything that God has promised us? And so in this road to the promised land, there are steps. And today I want to talk about the preparation season that we have as we wait on what God has promised. In Exodus chapter 1, we hear first of two brave women, two midwives who Pharaoh asks to begin killing every boy child that is born. But as you read, it says that they had a fear of the Lord and they refused to do what the Pharaoh had asked them to do. This is amazing because their fear of the Lord allowed them to then have the wisdom to respond to Pharaoh when he was like, "Why aren't y'all doing this?" And they were like, "The Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women. They just give birth so fast, we can't even get there in time." I mean, incredible. That just exemplifies the verse in Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10 that says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." I love it. And because they had a fear of the Lord, they knew exactly how to respond to Pharaoh. And that's true of us today. As we have this reverential awe and fear of God and what He has spoken over our lives, then we are then able to walk in wisdom in situations and with people. We know how to respond. We know what to say because we have this fear of the Lord. On the flip side, in chapter 2, we hear of Moses. Moses is born, and then he now sees an altercation happening where an Egyptian is trying to force and beat up on a Israelite, his own people. And so Moses takes matters into his own hands and kills the Egyptian. Sometimes we do this on the road to the promised land. We become super zealous, and what God had already prepared to do in annihilating all the Egyptians years later, Moses tries to take into his own hands at that time, but it wasn't the right time. Sometimes we hear a word from God or we get a prophetic word from somebody and we want to take matters into our own hands. We're ready to actualize it tomorrow. Yet there is a process where God is taking us. And I love that God actually when Moses was on the road, he's tending the flock, his father-in-law's flock. And he goes before he meets with the Lord on the Mount Sinai. God was actually leading him in the same land that Moses would be leading the Israelites when they left Egypt. This is what the preparation season looks like. It doesn't look like what we imagine. We always think it's going to happen overnight, but there is a process. And in that process, it starts with us having this fear of the Lord, which is the beginning of wisdom. And then we can understand, okay, this is my season of tending the flock. This is my season where God is going to work on me so that whenever I receive what God has promised me, I can sustain it. And so I want to continue to look at how we can be successful on our road to every single thing that God has promised us in this life. I'll talk to you guys soon.